composite images, or I like to think of them as still movies, using historical photographs. And I'm interested in the wonder and the violence and the bewilderment of modern existence. I try and capture that in my scenes. This is kind of how I got started. I was a teacher in Colorado, and my students were looking at something called the Ludlow Massacre, that involved the National Guard opening fire on a colony of striking coal miners. And this scene is showing the aftermath of that event. And you can go to the same field 100 years after the event, and you can still find traces of the people who lived there for 7 months. You see my third graders with bed springs and buttons and pieces of boots that were left on the field. And I really became interested in the lives of the people who lived there. Coal mining was really at the heart of industrial progress in the early 1900s. You know, skyscrapers were possible because of the coal that was going into the blast furnaces. And here's the colonies before they were attacked, a few months before. And I became curious about the lives of these people, and wanted a way to explore their existence and also what it shows us about our present moment. So one of the things I discovered pretty quickly was that the Library of Congress has this great treasure trove of archived and digitized images. So this is just a sampling of some of my favorite images I've come across. These aren't ones I created, but you can just peruse through them. It's also inspired by Ingmar Bergman, a Swedish director. He inspired me to make movies, even though my movies don't actually move. He's very much influenced by his choice of characters, the way he sets up his scenes, his use of lighting. So here's a little sample of my process. So the picture on the left is an actual photograph from the Library of Congress, and then I have cut the main character out and plunked her down in my own created world. And so the first challenge of this work is to make a believable cut. And what you find as you zoom in on some of these photos is that the line between the character and her surroundings is not very clear. It's actually a very fuzzy line. And so when you make a cut, you have to do so in such a way that allows her to blend into her new surroundings. I started with an interest in cities and the idea of the city. What are the structures made out of, and where did those materials come from? And what were the personal stories behind the building of these structures? So in this example, I used about 20 different pictures to create that scene. So here, the center of the action is this train wreck. It was actually photographed by Orville and Wilbur Wright. But for me, it captures some of that time period. There was all this great progress, but there was also this flip side, or kind of darker side to it. I'm also just fascinated with human structures, and that's part of my interest in this work. I think a city is its own ecosystem, and my senses are very much respond to a dense city like New York the way they might to a forest or a stream. And gradually I became more interested in focusing on the people and their experience of our changing times. We're constantly remaking our world, and I think that sometimes it's hard for our instincts and our biology to keep up with our industrial progress. This is a work I titled The Unanticipated Aging of Dr. Leech Cross as Viewed Through the Eyes of His Daughter. A bit of a mouthful. But Leech Cross appears twice in this photo, and his daughter is also featured. And I started by finding these pictures of him as a boxer, and then I came across this image entitled Dr. Leech Cross. It turns out he was known as the fighting dentist. He boxed his way through dental school. And but I was struck by how much he aged between the pictures, and the look on his daughter's face made me wonder about her own impressions of her father's aging. Here's another person I got interested in, and when I first found him, I really had the desire to place him very far away from the scene in which I encountered him. So I gave him a fish and extended his ladder quite a bit. Here he is in the first scene that I found him, and if you look behind him, his name was Harry Halverson, and behind him is the Eastland steamer, which on a quiet summer morning in 1915 was full of 2,000 picnickers and kind of suddenly turned over in the river, in the Chicago River, costing the lives of 800 people. And so Harry Halverson, who you saw there, his work for days was going into these dark, submerged rooms of the boat and bringing out the victims. And there you see the few survivors on the deck. Another thing I like about this medium is that it allows me to take multiple moments in time and to hold them together into one single moment. So, for example, this man and his dog, I found them in a circus on 3 different photos, 3 different points in time, and then I put them all together. I'm going to end with this one. It shows a blimp, and for me, the blimp is one of these great pieces of technology that has kind of risen with great hope and crashed and burned at times, but sort of embodies the complex nature of our progress. Thank you very much.